Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel, and here's a headline from crypto media outlet U Today. Ripple CEO optimistic about achieving crypto regulatory clarity in United States in 2023. Indeed, Brad Garlinghouse lays it out, and I'll share with you the specifics of what he had to say. Also, attorney John Deaton was on national television yet again today on Fox Business with Charles Payne. I want to share with you a little bit of what he had to say, and I also have an update for you about Sam Bankman-Fried. Ah, yes, the child who was born as a little dingleberry, but grew up and blossomed into a full-grown butt nugget, grew out a fro, and found that his true passion was putting cucumbers in and around his facial region. Well, he was in court today, and, well, I'll just say this. I'm pretty happy that he's reasonably good chance he's going to spend, if not decades, potentially the rest of his life behind bars. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I'm not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so here we have the latest from Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, and he wrote the following all up on the Twitters. Today is the first day of the 118th Congress. While prior efforts at regulatory clarity for crypto in the United States have stalled, I am cautiously optimistic that 2023 is the year we will finally see a breakthrough. A thread on why. Support for regulation is bipartisan and bicameral. Leaders like, and then he lists a bunch of leaders, have publicly supported blockchain and recognized the need for clarity. We're not working with a blank slate. Prior bills have tried to address everything from stablecoins and centralized exchanges. And then he says in parentheses, RFIA and DCEA. And by the way, I can never remember what they stand for, so I had to Google that before recording this video. So the RFIA is the Responsible Financial Information Act, and DCEA is the Digital Commodity Exchange Act. And then I read them like, yeah, I know. This is one of those things, when it comes to the acronyms, a lot of them they never get committed to memory. Like SWIFT. What the hell does SWIFT stand for? I've read it like 11 billion times. Something, a telecommunication or something in worldwide, I don't know. Worldwide prestige. I don't know what the hell it is, man. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, Garlinghouse continues. Clear definitions of what constitutes a digital asset security, Securities Clarity Act, safe harbors, which would be the Clarity for Digital Tokens Act, and more. No bill is perfect, and there likely will never be one that satisfies everyone. But perfect shouldn't be the enemy of progress. These proposals provide more than a starting point for debate in this new Congress. The stakes couldn't be higher. Singapore, the EU, Brazil, and Japan all have crypto frameworks, and the UK is well ahead of the United States. But the lack of coordinated standards globally, or any in the United States, continues to push business to countries with lower regulatory bars with sometimes catastrophic results, like FTX, he puts in parentheses. And I don't know how about, I mean, we've talked about this, of course, in the community, but I wonder how many people out there truly grasp the concept that even though, yes, the vast majority of the blame is on Sam Bankman-Fried and the rest of it really goes to, his cohorts that had actual hands on this, but still, even people that aren't criminally liable, like through negligence, have made stuff like this possible. I'm looking at you, Kim Jong-Ginsler. You fostered an environment where stuff like this is not just possible, but likely. It's really, truly unfortunate because if you had dominance in the United States in this asset class, if you truly did, that would include adoption in terms of usage of exchanges and all sorts of other stuff. I don't think you'd be seeing the nonsense that we have. And so even though the worst offender here is the outright fraud scammer butt nugget Sam Bankman-Fried who likes to put cucumbers in and around his face, I get that, it's him, but I'm not going to let Gensler off the hook without at least some sort of dishonorable mention. I'm just saying. And then Brad Garlinghouse also says, changing the status quo is never easy, but I believe that the will to act exists. The building blocks for regulation have already been introduced, and we have a chance to get this right for millions of Americans who already are, and will continue to be, interested in crypto. The 118th Congress has a historic opportunity before it to ensure the U.S. remains an innovation leader for decades to come. We hope it's one they take. Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it's inevitable that crypto is going to be adopted globally so far as I see it, including in the United States. It's not like we're freaking North Korea here. Like it's, by the way, North Korea, they don't have the internet. They have the intranet, which is a closed off version, which is nothing like the actual internet. So we're not going to have the crypto version of that in the United States, or it's not like I actually think that. It's more like in the meantime, everything is being destroyed, and the degree to which the United States is going to be dominant, like you saw with the advent and evolution of the internet for decades. Like, if this isn't fixed very quickly, it's going to look nothing like that in terms of adoption. So all this stuff's going to happen. It's just a question of by who and when. So, but I know one of the reasons, and some people have overlooked this, like some of the naysayers out there against crypto in general. I'm just sitting here thinking, the more time passes, the more people adopt crypto, including people in places of power, in the House and in the Senate in the United States. Well, these people, like, they're not going to want to outlaw or ban or this or that, the assets that they hold. And so the more time passes, the more adoption occurs, the more you cement the asset class as a whole. It's clearly not going away. So it's really not even a question about that. I mean, that question has been over, in my opinion, for years and years and years. Crypto asset class is here to stay. We just don't know for sure which ones are going to, cryptocurrencies will be the long-term winners. But it is a question of exactly to what this is going to look like in the United States after all of this nonsense, this train wreck of an evolution of crypto, quote unquote, adoption, from a legal perspective, and the lack of clarity. What a freaking mess. And then there was also this. So there was this. It's a long thread. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm just going to share a part that Attorney John Deaton retweeted, highlighted here. There is Ron Hammond who wrote this really long thread on this exact topic. Same thing, same type of stuff that Brad Garlinghouse is talking about. Ron Hammond is the director of government relations at the Blockchain Association. And one tweet in the thread, and this is the part that Attorney John Deaton retweeted, reads as follows. So he's talking about legislation that passed, in tumultuous times. And he said, Dodd-Frank, Glass-Steagall, Sarbanes-Oxley. These were all major bills passed after a financial crisis or serious scandal. It is entirely possible FTX's downfall spurs this once-in-a-decade legislation. Already, we have proposals like Loomis Gillibrand and McHenry Waters. So I'm going to share with you what John Deaton had to say, but I am always tremendously concerned about bills that are created in a reactionary fashion, and how they're just rushed through in a way that could really cause more harm than good. If it's just like a thing happens, like we just must do a thing and take action in response, I'm like, ugh. Is it going to be well thought out and crafted regulation? I'm not so confident that you could classify all those bills as well crafted. Here's what Attorney Deaton had to say. He said, always, oops, that's the wrong one. This is the problem with our leaders. All they do is react instead of act. And when you react to a crisis, you often go too far. Everyone with good intentions has wanted smart and tailored legislation. It isn't coming soon. This is why fighting SEC overreach has been ground zero. Now that is spot on. Attorney Deaton nailing it per usual. So that is the concern, though. What's going to happen here? How far is this going to go? I'm just worried about overly burdensome regulations. And even here, it's not like this is gonna fix the problems at the SEC. On top of that, they're gonna address other stuff. I mean, I'd be surprised if it had any. I mean, I want it to. Maybe I'm surprised. By the time it's all said and done. But the SEC, my God, it's a dictatorship run by Kim Jong-Gensler. So anyway, Attorney Deaton, on top of that, though, he was, as I cited at the outset of the video, he was on Fox Business with Charles Payne, and he shared a piece of information that I actually hadn't heard to this point. And he noted that as Sam Bankman-Fried was extradited from the Bahamas to the United States, a key piece of information was held back from him. You know what that was? He intentionally was not informed by anybody in the United States that he was brokering this deal with. He was not informed that Caroline Ellison, who is the CEO of Alameda Research, and also Gary Wang, a co-founder of FTX, SBF was not informed that those two had already pled guilty and were speaking out against him. So, good luck there, you little butt nugget with a fro who enjoys cucumbers in and around the facial region. That's his favorite hobby. He's most well known for being a cucumber enthusiast. So I'm just sitting here thinking, to what degree was he surprised and enraged, one would assume, when he gets to the United States? He's like, oh, this might not go so well for me. Although I'm just saying, like, if I'm him, I'd be thinking, they're probably going to backstab me anyway, because they also want to not be in jail for decades. So, I don't know. It is what it is. But anyway, here's the headline from Cointelegraph. Sam Bankman-Fried enters not guilty plea for all counts in federal court. The former FTX CEO faces 8 criminal counts in the United States. Check this out. Former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried has pled not guilty to all criminal charges he's facing related to the collapse of the crypto exchange, including wire fraud, securities fraud, and violations of campaign finance laws. Multiple observers in the United States District Court in the Southern District of New York on January 3rd reported that Bankman-Fried's attorneys had entered a not guilty plea on SBF's behalf in his first court appearance since December. Bankman-Fried faces 8 criminal counts, which could result in 115 years in prison should he be convicted. Assistant U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon, one of the prosecutors in the case against the former FTX executive, reportedly said her team intended to provide SBF's lawyers with documents of evidence within the next 2 weeks. Reuters reported that Sassoon was anticipating a 4-week trial, which court records showed scheduled for October 2nd. So there you go. Fourth quarter is going to be lit, son. October 2nd, the court proceedings are scheduled to begin. Probably going to go several weeks. And he is totally screwed. If anybody's worried about him getting off, I say fear not. You know, because what would it even like a lenient sentence be? Like decades still? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'd be surprised if this actually goes well for him. I think he's absolutely screwed. And this whole little charade that he was putting on as he was, being interviewed in the couple weeks, especially after the bankruptcy of FTX, where he's running around getting interviewed by like the New York Times guy and who was it? Andrew Ross Sorkin. There are a bunch of people. Oh, and he was playing this little like, I didn't know stuff was happening. I just No, you stole money from customers. He outright, and there's proof of this. And he's just playing this game, he's putting the charade on in public where it's just like, well, we made some bad bets. And so, no, you didn't, you little bitch. You cucumber-loving son of a bitch. You absolutely stole customers' funds. And you're not going to be able to hide behind this little facade in court when all the evidence is right there in front of the judge. It ain't going to happen. So I'm thankful for that, at least. I'm glad he came to the United States. It's not going to be good for him. And that's fantastic because he has absolutely destroyed the lives of so many people. What a disgusting, despicable piece of trash. What a terrible excuse for a human. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.